Good afternoon. Welcome, students. How are you? Kind of touched base on moods a minute ago. Hope everybody's doing well. Here's what we got on tap. So we're going to do a quick review on the coding that I had you guys change. In fact, if you haven't looked on Google Classroom yet, I've actually got a working version of the game which has got extra comments taken out. It'll be much easier to do the next step in this activity. Now, a quick note about yesterday's participation and attendance. Yesterday was a holiday according to some schools. They had a teacher calendar that allowed teachers to go to Yom Kippur, or students were celebrating. I think that's what it was. At any rate, if you were not attending yesterday because of a calendar conflict, I don't want you to get burdened by having to do it, and I'm giving you the finished product. What you missed out on was some troubleshooting and the idea of migrating code from one platform to another. There's recordings for you to look at. Now, whether you did the work yesterday or not, I need you to turn in and mark as done yesterday's work. That could be a comment that said, we had no power, or that the sun was in your eyes. I mean, it's really up to you to give me a legitimate reason why you didn't get it done. And it's possible that you had a reason why you didn't get it done. If you're not getting the work done, you're not getting the benefit of exercise, and you're not going to build the figurative muscles. That's why we go through these exercises. It's for your benefit. So as we're learning these skills, we're going to take the idea of a standard build of a game. And though I don't expect these to be the most fantastic games, I do expect that they're simple enough you'll be able to get them done if you try and if you ask for help. And that's why I'm here, and that's why you've got other people around you to help you as well. I hope I'm sharing my screen right now. If I'm not, let me double check on that, because I've been talking in other sessions and people have had to open up their mics and say, Mr. Judge, we can't see your screen. Okay, yeah, I am sharing my screen. That's good. I'm going to move this over so it doesn't do the perpetual screen within a screen. All right, let's grab this thing. So the reason I want you to get your grade is I want you to be able to make a decision today on where you're going to spend the majority of your time. Now, without revealing any personal information, I can show you where we're at as a group. I want to make sure that this is clear. It's just going to be at the high level. And what you guys see grades on Power School is something that I deal with from this perspective. And if I jump in here and look in the grade book and show you a view of the whole group, I've got a lot of A's. That's looking great. But what I need to farm out here is that if I've got 13 people that aren't passing the class, I don't want to pour gasoline on a fire. I don't want people to feel buried. So if you're not at an A level, when I tell you to go to work on your activity, then I want you to put your time into getting your backlog completed. Again, I don't know what's going on. If there's a problem with the technology, if my pace is too fast. So please communicate whatever the challenges are so we can work together on positioning everyone for success. That being said, the people that are on top of their work are not going to be held back from getting into more of the exploratory enrichment exercises and being more in control. Once you've got the basic skills, I want you to start to flex those muscles and exercise them and start to get in a position where you're doing more. And it's more engaging when you're picking what you work on. So we're stepping in that direction. We'll come back to a standard build, and then we'll let people branch out. And I'll be trying to encourage those who maybe aren't right at that point to get into the customization. And I'll also be supporting those that do customization because they'll come up with questions. They'll be breaking things, and it's part of learning. And I'll expect some questions from there as well. So that's why I'm doing kind of a one or the other activity today. And I've done it with the other two sessions. Just checking, we're at 16 people. So probably the most important thing for everyone to get from today is that I need to know where you're at. I need to know by what you're turning in today in terms of a comment. And just like I mentioned yesterday, even if you didn't get it done, give me a comment on the status. The old activities have diminishing return. doing something from week 1, we need to talk about if you're missing something from then, because those were getting started activities that may or may not still be applicable to you. Yesterday's activity, I'm giving you a fresh starting point of it. What was the overall that was assigned today? Today I will get to. Thank you, Richard. Good to see the question. Glad you're here. So as you can see on the slide, I need to know what's going on so I can help you, and hopefully that makes sense. All right. Here's what happened yesterday. Yesterday, I gave everybody a set of code that had a bunch of things like these commands above my head here, system type, that would not work when you moved them from Visual Studio into Online GDB. And the instructions were to comment them out. In this particular example, line 69 and line 71, you had to add something or else there was an error message on this if condition. Even if you don't know what this if statement's doing here, even if it looks like gibberish to you, I wanted you to understand that when you get an error message that the command, again, by my head here, doesn't work, that you can actually make it a comment by indicating with these 2 slashes, it will ignore the rest of that line. So I'm trying to lay down a baseline where you get error message. One way around it might be to comment it out. I do that legitimately. If I don't know where the error comes from, I might comment out one line and then switch to the next one until I figure out, when that line is active, it's causing a problem. It helps me narrow down what the problem is. The next thing that was happening is people were saying I have an error related to something. Might have been a curly brace. And so we talked about using Control F to find something. And there is a YouTube video that talks about this whole process that you can look at. I've got another question for you. The poll now is, I'll put the question into a different format here. This new poll is, all right, I'll put it on this slide here just so there's room. It's going to be a yes or no. Hold your responses until I say this. Do you know how to use the YouTube videos I post to help you? And what I mean is, do you have a method for it? Do you know when to use it, and do you know how to use it? They're both important. So if you say yes, that would mean that yes, you know how to use them and you know when to use it. If you don't know, then I want to cover that because there's some benefit you'll get from understanding how to use them and when to use them. Okay, we got a poll up and I'm waiting on 2 people to respond. Got one more question I'm waiting for a response on. All right, so I'll publish these answers and we'll kind of move along here. If someone needs help, they can ask for help or communicate it in some way. But here's the results, is that I have at least 2 people that don't. I won't take a lot of time on this, but I do want to show you how to do it. And you might pick up on something that you hadn't thought about doing before. So if I go to my YouTube channel, which if you're not familiar with it, I can post another link to it in the chat. Here we go. I'll copy this and I'll paste this into the URL so we can get right to it. Now, this is not I don't actually make money on this or anything, but what I want to make sure, I need to do this not in full screen actually. What I want to make sure you know how to do is how to get here and then how to use it. And I'm going to really point out the things at the bottom of the screen here that are most important. I strongly suggest, even if you don't need them, that you turn on the captioning system because it's going to take any words that you're unsure of and at least give you some possible explanation as to what I'm saying. The next thing I want to make sure you're doing is that you consider using the playback speed, which is really underused for educational videos. If I'm doing an intro and you know what I'm talking about, or if I'm doing a summary, then change your playback speed to something like 2 and let the presentation go by twice as fast. My goal is not to bore you through the same content 2 times or 3 times, or however many times you need to see it. My goal is to provide the ability that when you get to something you're not sure of, you can actually change the playback speed to either normal, or, and what I do sometimes is I change it to 3/4 speed, because I really want to hear what the person's saying. And there are times that I'm looking at a new concept being presented by a professional, and they know it so well they go a little too fast. And I know I'm guilty of that as well. So, what I want to make sure that you're equipped to do and have an understanding of is when you're watching the YouTube videos, use the little scrub and go back over something if you're not sure. And use the captions and adjust the speed. This provides a lot of support for somebody who doesn't necessarily get it all the first time. Any questions about what I just covered there? It's for your benefit. Okay. The other thing I want you to be aware of is that the people that do the YouTube videos for the Unreal training in particular tend to talk very slow and clear. Part of it is I believe they're being paid by the hour in terms of their finished content. So they've learned if they talk at a certain pace that they make more money for the same content. To me, I'd rather have somebody talk in their normal pace and I can slow it down through the player controls if need be. That's how I roll. All right, getting back to what we're going to work on today. Just that was the review part. Rather than have you have to go through all of the commenting and debugging, if you didn't get it done, I'm providing for you today your own version of them, which has been stripped of all of the extra comments. And that was a good exercise in troubleshooting. There's definitely a value in doing it. I'm not second guessing that. But what I want you to be aware of is that if you get a version, and this is what I'm giving you, that does not have all of the extra comments, it's much cleaner, and I think you'll be able to follow along better. And so I've got a third question I want to ask here. I want to find out in a second here a little bit about what your experience was with trying this game. And if you got it working, that's great. If you didn't, you can grab the version that is available on the Google Classroom on yesterday's assignment as a comment. So if you don't have a working version, take a minute and grab that. And if you don't have access to that, you really need to let me know if there's some issue with you getting into Google Classroom or having any other issues there. Okay? Let's see here. All right, so well, that's weird. All of a sudden, Van Halen came up. I think what was going on is it tried bringing up an old search window when I hit a window. I think it was probably F1 I probably bumped, which isn't going to help us here. All right, so what I'm hoping is that you can have access to the working version of the code. You can run it as is. It should run without errors, I believe. And you can also, yep, there it is. Now, obviously, I wanted your version to have some modifications. Some people turned in different versions. Make sure you don't have a space in your name here. And if you tried putting in 0, you'll notice it's going to continue to loop to make sure you got to face at least 1. So I made another version I showed you yesterday that had a typewriter type story. If you want to have that be skippable, that might be a feature you want to consider in the future. If you put in a negative number, it again wouldn't let you do it because there's a little loop that says if you haven't put in a version or a number that's, see right here, this line number 32 in this version, while 1 is greater than zombie count, it's going to continue to do this over and over again. It's right before that. There we go. It's the do while. There you go. Sorry. It's a different loop type than I'm used to. I usually use a for loop. So basically, until they give you a number that's equal to or greater than 1, it's going to continue to harass you like you see in this version here. So that's a little bit of error checking that was built in. We talked about using a do while to check for that. There's an example in the code for you. So if you put in something higher and you battled some zombies, this happens quick. You may or may not be killed, and you end up with a final score. Now, I don't know how interesting that game is in terms of a game, but there's really only two interchanges between the person when the person tells their name, and also the second time when they put in their number of zombies. So I'm wondering if anybody has got any ideas on how to make this a better game. So, let's do this. Let's start another poll and grade this project. All right, I'd like to know how you would grade the project as far as a simple game. Grade it like you're grading. A is for it's a good example. I can see where it's got if statements, loops, etc. B is C is it's not a game. What are you talking about? D is it didn't even work for me. Let me know what you think of this game, this experience using a grading scale. Like you're the teacher, you're grading the work. Is it an A? Is it a B? You get to play the teacher here on my work. All right, I got just about everybody's done a vote here. Thank you, students, for your votes. I'll publish those results here. Good, good, good. Publish results. There they go. So basically, people don't think it's a bad game. Now, here's another question. Do you think you can improve this game? So this game, just the way it is perfect or not worth improving. That's kind of what I'm getting if you say no. Waiting on a couple of more people to give me their opinion here. So again, the prompt is, do you think this game could be improved? Yes or no? The game being the zombie game. All right. All right, we're going to press on. I'm going to go back to my screen here. Publish the polling results. There, we're split. Totally split. It's 50-50. Half of you think it can't be improved, half of you do. Well, this process of improving games is something that we're going to find happens in industry a lot, even if they're not the most exciting or interesting games. So today, when we break into groups, by the way, there's also a YouTube video that I posted yesterday's assignment on how to turn your work in. So you can give me a link to online GDB. Oh, we should do a quick check on attendance here. I'm going to set this up in a different way where my head's not in the way. And I will make this, I'm sharing my screen. I think I do it this way. Close that, move this over here. I think I do, nope, that's not going to work. Oh, I know, I go into the presentations, and then I make it full screen over here. All right, so I stop showing my screen, and then I go to the slide where everybody is. There we go. So I've already had a number of people attend an earlier session, so this is kind of a participation check here. And I'm going to ask you to hold off on doing any scribbling on the screen as this happens. But I do want you to find your name and just park your name next to it. As you can see, it's Alejandro's birthday today. So now as your name shows up here, I'll make this an interactive whiteboard. And just line your name up. Oh, look at that. Somebody had their name all ready to go. Just line yourself up. And as you can see from the earlier examples, so Alexander, I don't know if you can see yourself here. Can we get you to move yourself? Find your name and chase you over. We got 2 Alexanders. Yep. See, now take a look at it for a minute. Please hold off on the miscellaneous writing if you could. Okay. What I want to make sure everybody understands is that, when you get into class, and we're talking about doing that soon, is I want people to understand they'll have a check-in sheet, and you literally walk up and touch sign in with you'll see everybody else's name, and you'll see who's there, and you'll get used to other people's names being there. And the reason that we do that is it mirrors kind of a check-in board at industry, which is pretty common. That I would actually, need to have myself, understood. By the way, if you want to mark it up now, go ahead. Feel free to move about and draw as I talk to you. So as you look, you can see the list of names. You can see who was here. There may be some holes where people are not showing up or they're not participating. It could be they have a calendar conflict, or there could be something more involved. Trying to tease all that out, trying to get to a point where I understand what's going on with people. As I work that out, I don't want to be holding anybody else up, and I want to make sure everybody's making progress here. Any questions about what we just did there? All right, if somebody ends up joining a session later in the day and you didn't participate in a participation check-in, let me know. The school is using the check-in sheet for their attendance, but being in the room, which is attending, and participating are 2 different things. And that's no different than when you're in your homeschool. So we did get most people lined up with their placement there. All right. All right, we're going to go back to the presentation. Share my screen again. All right. Thanks for playing along on the check-in. We did that. All right. So if you're not at an A grade, which I put the link into the chat earlier, I want everyone to figure out what their grade is, then your job is to look at missing work and to identify what's going on. Why are you missing work? Is it a block schedule conflict? Are you somehow not connecting with the material? I need to know. And this goes out to anybody who's not at an A. I'd like to know. That means communicating. You can use private chat. You can send me an email. You can let me know in any of those ways that you might see fit. All right, so the primary path, those who are on their A, we're going to practice this idea of improvement. So there's 2 vocabulary words here we're starting to put in. One is mechanic, what lets it work, and the other is dynamic, like what's at play when you're in the middle of using it. So for example, the way a hammer works is you can use leverage to drive a wedge between 2 pieces of wood. That's the mechanic. But the dynamic is you can use it to create something, not necessarily alone. You've got a mechanic here. The basic mechanic is you've got random, you've got a loop or more, and a series of decisions, if statements, that create a game-like experience. Now, what you're going to be assigned to do, those of you who are in an A, is to get into a small group and brainstorm. And if you get through the brainstorming, then you'll be able to start on the coding, because you're going to have a set amount of time. Actually, before you start the coding, you want to document what you talked about, because everyone's going to turn in one of 3 types of comments today. And this gets to Mr. Wood's question about, you're going to need to give me a comment on what you did in your brainstorming session, or what you did to get your grade up to an A, or why you weren't here, or what happened, why you didn't get those other 2 things done. So this is a collaboration, and it's the first time we're doing brainstorming in class, so it's important that we talk about a couple things about brainstorming. So brainstorming 101 is when you're really asking for ideas, there's no bad ideas. It's not for casting judgment. And hopefully one person doesn't just take over the conversation and just talk about their ideas, It should be a little bit of give and take. This is not your first group project. You've done stuff like this before. So talk about what you think you should do. Earlier sessions, we're talking about maybe some type of skill or maybe inventory or anything to get more user input. For example, as the zombie approaches, maybe you make a choice of something like, attack, duck, or evade. Maybe you've got a weapon you can use. Maybe based on beating zombies, you earn more points that give you an advantage. There is a player skill that starts at 9, and there's nothing that changes that. If you wanted to, you could add the code that says if you killed a zombie, then that goes up, and if you get an injury, it goes down. It might be that you don't want the death to be an insta-kill. Maybe you want the death to be they lose half of their health until that health gets down below a certain level, and then they're dead. You can create that kind of logic in there pretty easily. So as you're brainstorming, it's important that you're open to ideas and that you collect in your own mind, or if you want to, in notes, what you want to capture from that for what you're going to turn in today. So as we practice, you're gonna think about what might be the fully evolved version of an experience like this. Not that we're gonna build it eventually, but I just want you to have some context for it, right? Because you might have a big vision that's just not gonna work, or something that doesn't make sense. Like, all right, if you have a red hat, then the dialogue should say red hat. If you have a blue hat, I mean, there's some tangents you can get off on that would be good programming exercise, but wouldn't necessarily make it more interesting to play. So you're going to want to keep in mind that your scope is in line with what we're going to be doing in the class, and that is console-based programming when we are working here. So it's going to be text-based. It's going to be relatively straightforward in terms of logic. So the most important takeaway from today is the following. You got to let me know what's going on. I don't know what you're doing right now. I don't make you turn your cameras on. I don't know if you got your phone out. I don't know what you're doing. Some of you are doing exactly what I want you to do, and some of you might not. I'm trying to get that figured out. And that's why we're spending some time on this. I'm really looking forward to a point where we have people engaged in the curriculum, and this should be a step towards it, where your ideas get generated and feed into what's going to happen with a zombie game. If that's not engaging to you, you might be in the wrong class. We need to figure that out. All right. Any questions about that so far? No? All right. So you're going to go off and you're going to either work on what you're getting your grade up to an A, or you're going to be participating in these breakout rooms I'm about to create. They're going to be randomized. You're going to get 15 minutes, and then the breakout rooms are going to end, and we'll see where we're at. Okay, if you're working on your own work, I still expect you to be back in the room in 15 minutes in our main group. All right, we got 16 people that are online now. I'm going to create the breakout rooms. Any questions? We've done a breakout room before. Any questions before I send you off in your breakout rooms? All right, we're going to do it. I'm just going to assign you randomly.
You are now muted.
questions. So, I'm afraid what I can do. So there's the recording. 33 seconds. Coming back in.
You are now unmuted.
All right, so 15 people. All right, I'm going to resume recording. Here we are, we're back. Can you guys hear me all right? I'll share my screen. Let's see here. I want to get into, yep, we've got a conference active, seeing who's here. We've got public chats up. Yep, you can hear me. Good. So, how did it go? You were in a private chat room for about 15 minutes, and you were talking ideally about your ideas on making that a better game. So, you can send me private message. It went okay. All right, good. Some of you may have had your own idea up front. Some of you might have had less ideas than others. But what I'm trying to capture here is, in general, how did it go? Some people thought it was fun. Cool. What I'm going to do now is just bring up a poll, and I want you to grade the group activity that we just did. Again, just like we did the game. If you did not participate, choose E, because if you did not participate. But, if you liked it, give it an A or a B. If you didn't participate, give it an E. So that was about 15 minutes. Okay. Appreciate the summary there. And our polling is there. We got almost everybody. So at least one person did not participate. And what I'm trying to capture, from this is how did it go and what did you think? And so whether you were working on this because you're on an A or whether you're working on your own work, I'm just trying to get an idea how it's going. All right. So let me get back to the PowerPoint because I think we're at a point now where we've kind of collected the information from a brainstorming session. And now you'll have an opportunity to take that base game and continue it. Let me go back a slide here. Now this is the base game without the comments. This is also posted as a comment. And I uploaded this PowerPoint to today's activity. So if you need to get a hold of that, you can get a hold of that pretty easily. Most important thing that I need from you today is to know where you're at. If you're bored, if you're overloaded, I need to know. I know that everyone's got a different ability level and scheduling ability, but even though I know that much, I don't know what's really going on. So please send me an email, private chat, stay on at the end, ask for help. I'm around, okay? In the meantime, let's take a look at the Google Classroom and make sure everybody's clear on what I'm looking for today. Let's see here. It's the asynchronous. That one. Andra's birthday, and that's fine and good. Let's get to our calendar here. If you need help understanding what's going on with the activities, let me know. Here you go. I put it. It's due tomorrow. Some people have turned it in, which is great. The instructions tell you to do breakout rooms and improvement, or option B, which was getting your grade up. Now, if you do turn in something later, I do need you to send me an email that helps me understand that you got something turned in after the fact. If you're not sure where to start or anything, I can get that. You need to let me know so I can work with you on it. All right. If you are needing help, the third option is your comment would say that you have questions or need help. So there's the PowerPoint we went through. Let me see. You might need the code. I'll give you the direct link to the code for you. See if I can copy this. And as we talked about, I do put some recordings onto YouTube that might be helpful. So if and when you're at the point you want to modify it with fewer comments, because man, there was too many comments in there, wasn't there? There you go. Remember, look at yesterday's activity. If you didn't get it turned in, make sure you mark that with, here's the version without the comments, or we weren't in session because there was a school holiday, or something else. Let me know what happened on Monday. Same with Tuesday. We kick it off at around 1:10, and I want to make sure people are getting their information here. Still got 15 people online, which is great. A couple of people might have gone off to work on their grades. That's all I can hope. Is there anybody who joined late that might need a recap? I can do that for you if you want. Otherwise, do you feel like you know what you need to do? If you feel like you know what you need to do and you're ready to do that, I can let you bounce, or we can talk about anything that you want. So long if you're leaving. See you, Steph. Bye. All right, some of you that are still online, just want to reach out, see what I can do for you. Is there anything I can do for you? I'm going to mute my mic for now and probably turn my camera off, but I'll hear you or I'll watch chat and let me know if you need help. Muted.